Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Clallam EDC Coffee Chat, Coffee with Colleen. Happy to have all your smiling faces here this morning. And we are very excited to have the real Colleen on with us today, Colleen Robinson. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing with the community what Habitat for Humanity of Clallam County has been up to in the last 2 years or so. And I know a lot, and we're really happy to have you join us. So before Colleen takes it over and kicks it off, I'm going to ask folks to put themselves on mute so we don't hear background noises inadvertently. And also, we like this to be interactive. So if you have questions for Colleen, please either raise your hand and we'll call on you, or alternatively, put your questions in the chat. So with that, Colleen, please take it away. And again, thanks so much for doing this for us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good morning, everyone. You want to go back and share screen with me again, Colleen, so I
Yep.
can pull up my presentation, please?
I think you have to do it on your end.
Okay, it's saying share settings. We had it a minute ago, but then you said I'm going to turn it off so I can see you. Yeah, it's not coming up.
It's not, okay, let me try this here, make sure. Multiple participants.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, there you go. Maybe now?
yeah, you got it now.
Okay, good.
Okay, can you see it?
Almost. There we go. Perfect.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here, and thanks to Mitch and the EDC team. I noticed on the call, I have a lot of staff members here supporting me. So thank you, staff, for being here bright and early. And also some board members. Jennifer Scott from the EDC has recently joined our board, and I saw Brad Griffith on there. He is also a board member. So shout out to those of you that got up early to hear stuff that you probably already know. So, Habitat for Humanity of Clallam County, we have been here. We'll be celebrating 35 years this year of our affiliate being established, creating stable and affordable homes. Beyond the headlines and social media, learn the real story. So, a couple objectives that we have today. What is Habitat for Humanity? People are still confused. Every once in a while, I still hear someone say, do I have to be a Habitat homeowner to shop in the Habitat store? No, you do not. It is open to the public. How do people qualify? What are we working on now? Update on City of Port Angeles and East End County projects, and how we're impacting our community and how you can get involved. So, this is our mission, seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. We are a Christian housing ministry. However, we do not proselytize, and we work with people of all faiths and no faiths as volunteers, as staff, as family partners. And our vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. These are our affiliate core values. We worked on these as a team and strive every day to keep them at the forefront of our work. Um, Hands on is one of my favorite. We're not afraid to dig in, get dirty, and lift others up. But this was a lot of fun to work with our team, and they are displayed at our build site and in both of our store and in our offices to keep it at the forefront of our work. So, where did Habitat come from? So, as anybody, I'm not sure, I can't see everybody to raise a hand, but I don't know if everyone has heard of Koinonia Farms, which is the legacy of Habitat. Clarence Jordan is considered the godfather or grandfather of Habitat for Humanity, as he made an interracial Christian community committed to equality, shared labor, and peace. Hey, Norm, thanks for joining. Another board member popped on. Despite violence and boycotts, the community persisted, modeling racial fellowship, and economics. Our foundation is rich with a history of social injustice and trying to make social justice. So, Habitat for Humanity International was formally established in 1976 by Millard and Linda Fuller. HFHI is turning 50 this year, giving us a half century of conclusive data on the positive impact owning homes and having a stable place to live has had on families. Children who have grown up in Habitat homes are more likely to graduate high school, go to college, and become homeowners themselves. Owning a home is breaking the cycle of poverty for families and creating generational wealth. This is our team. A few have left, and we have a few new ones. I was looking at this yesterday, thinking I need to update our team photo, but that's most of us. These people are amazing. They show up every day to further our mission and serve the community and live out our core values. This wonderful group of volunteers are true Habitat heroes. They share their time, talent, and treasure on behalf of Habitat and affordable housing in Clallam County. They come from a wide and varied backgrounds and bring their professional expertise to further Habitat's mission. Annually, we host a board advance because we don't retreat, an all day meeting planning and strategizing the future of Habitat Clallam. We have monthly board meetings for financial oversight and accountability. Every board member, in addition to serving on the board, also serves on a committee to do work outside of our regular business meetings. So, this is our impact from our annual report for 2025. And while Habitat for Humanity of Clallam County is turning 35 this year, International is turning 50, as I mentioned. We have housing and affiliates in all 50 states, 966 affiliates to be exact. And we also serve housing solutions in 60 countries around the world. Right now, we have an initiative for 100,000 concrete floors to play on. So, in third world countries, many of the homes have dirt floors, not sanitary, not healthy. You don't want to put your little one down to crawl around if you're trying to cook in the kitchen. So, we have a initiative to put in 100,000 concrete floors across some of our third world countries to help with sanitation. Habitat now has the data to prove we are changing people's lives through affordable home ownership and homeowner repairs. I think we can all agree we are not going to build our way out of this housing crisis. We must also preserve the aging housing stock in our communities and through our critical home repair and aging in place, allowing seniors to safely age in their home with some minor modifications. It is a win-win. Here's a couple of testimonials from family partners who received assistance through our repair program. Joy said, "The deck is now so smooth, each caregiver gushes about how nice it is." Rosie said, "Everyone involved was so kind. As an elder, my future has been made more secure." And Melissa shared, "Community support drastically improved my life." City of Port Angeles awarded Habitat Clallam ARPA funding, funds to complete home repairs within the city of Port Angeles. Recently, the need for new roofs has become a priority for families. If the roof fails, the whole house fails and becomes a tear down. This impacts landfills, and the cost to build new homes in comparison to saving an existing home is much more economical and better for the environment and the community. Habitat Clallam is very grateful for the partnership, leadership, and vision of City of Port Angeles. Our friends at Ligon's Landscaping went over and did a yard cleanup, and we just are so grateful for all of the different community partners that we have. So let's face it, we need all types of housing. Right now in Washington state, 1 in 7 families is paying more than 50% of their household income on housing. This leaves families to make hard decisions for their budget. Food, medication, transportation. When you're paying that much on housing, something else has to be dropped from the budget. Families contribute sweat equity. We create long-term affordability through silent second mortgages and first right of refusal, meaning that if a family partner comes forth and says we're leaving our home or we need to move on, Habitat has the first right of refusal to buy it back at fair market value. And then, depending on how old the home is, refurbishing it and bringing it up to standards for a new family to move in. And if both of those numbers are continue to make the house affordable, that is something we'll consider. We have lost a few of our homes through the years that were sold on the open market when the affiliate did not have the opportunity or the funding to buy the houses back at the time. But that was only two or three homes. Most all of our homes remain Habitat housing homes. So in November of 2021, Habitat Clallam submitted a bid for the property at 4017 Fairmount Avenue. In February of 22, our bid was accepted by the city of Port Angeles and we purchased the double lot for just over $29,000. Once the lot was cleared, it awaited for new homes until we finished our 14 home community at Maloney Heights. We decided we dedicated the final home there in August of 2023 and began working on this project. In May of 2024, we received our building permit. Habitat Clallam is very grateful to the City of Port Angeles and their forward thinking to clear a path for affordable housing, such as waiving permit fees, allowing fee in lieu of for sidewalks, all of which helps make affordable housing a little bit more affordable. So, Habitat for Humanity International has a robust veterans program serving families that served our country. We still have 2 units available
Uh-oh.
waiting for 2 veteran families. If you know of any veterans looking for permanently affordable housing, please have them contact Jeremy Leap, our Family Resource Director. His number is 360-775-3740. We'll be dedicating 2 of the units this summer, and Molly and Steve cannot wait to get into their new homes. And we will invite all of the people from the EDC to come out and look at these little treasures and how Habitat was able to transform that lot. The SQUIM
So
VFW, yeah, go ahead.
can you go back? So, two slides back, you showed a two, yep, that one, and Fairmount. Oops,
Mhm.
forward one. That was two lots, double city
Mhm.
lot, and that was one dilapidated house that sat on it. And you
Correct.
created four dwellings
Correct.
on that. That's
Correct.
great.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
And that took
Density.
about 4 years to accomplish.
Well, it took about 2 years. We got our building permit in May of 24, and we should be dedicating 2 of them shortly. We had some staff turnovers, and quite honestly, we were the first ones to test out. Habitat was the first ones to test out these density improvements that the city allowed, and so they were learning as we were learning. So everything felt like it took a little bit longer than it should have, but now that we see these beautiful little cottages, it was worth all the work and effort.
So how large are those units?
They're about 836 square feet, little 2 bedroom, 1 bath, washer and dryer in unit. They have a little fenced in backyard.
Great.
So just absolutely adorable.
And were any federal or state funds used to build those, or was that all private money?
All private money
Okay,
on this
that's great.
project. Yeah,
So
we're kind
really
we're
love to hear from you, like what you're finding are the difference in price per foot if you
yeah.
take any government dollars versus if you don't.
Well, you can certainly move more quickly if you're not using any government funding because you're not having to do the RFPs, and it is less expensive because we are not paying prevailing wage. So raising money ourselves and using that funding that way is definitely more cost effective for us. But as you'll see later in the presentation, there is no way that we could move to the next level of developer without actually using um, federal or state money or local money for that matter. So the Squim VFW was a great partner on this project. They donated funds for the roofing system, which was over $17,000, and they donated a permanent flagpole and flag that they installed a couple weeks ago with a beautiful ceremony. The National Low Income Housing Coalition finds that 2.5 million veterans heading households are at least 55 years of age. Of those 2.5 million veterans, 24% have housing cost burdens. Unlike other civilians, our older veterans are more likely to have a disability, 35% versus 28%, which may require home modifications, health, and other supportive services as they age. So these units have pool bars in the bathroom. We made them as close to zero entry barrier as we possibly could, and really thought about a wheelchair being able to spin around in a bathroom or the kitchen, if that becomes the future of one of these homeowners. Once we had 4017 Fairmount was cleared and we had house plans, we realized our veteran partner families would be looking out of their lovely units at this blighted property.
Ouch.
Not very appealing, to say the least. So we pursued the owner, who was no longer living here. However, there were many squatters and people on this property, which made all of the neighbors very concerned for the safety and the safety of their property. Ultimately, the owner agreed to sell us the property, and Habitat made quick work of getting it cleared out. I don't even want to tell you what the dump bill was on that. So, this month, what's going on that lot? This month, we will begin this single family home, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath with a 1 car garage, serving another local family with the opportunity for permanent affordable home ownership. So, this will be what our veteran family partners are looking out to, as opposed to that blighted property.
Can you do a detached ADU on that property?
It's
Or
not
did you,
deep enough.
it's not
Yeah,
deep enough. Got it. Okay.
yeah, wasn't deep enough. We talked about it, but yeah, it wasn't deep enough. So, where does our funding sources come from? As you can see here, the unaffiliated of the 42,000, that is revenue from our stores. Habitat International requires affiliates not to have more than 30% of their income come from any one funding source. So you can see we're quite varied there on different opportunities for receiving funding to keep our work going, both repairs and building new properties, building new homes. Habitat stores earn income, they're community driven. Key private gifts, such as Francis Lyon, who gave us $850,000. Mackenzie Scott gave us $1 million. We have corporate partnerships with Interfor Lumber, Whirlpool, many local businesses. Interfor has donated the framing lumber for the last 12 homes. Local contractors like Titan Builders send out their skilled labor to assist us when needed. So, public grants, CHIP funding. CHIP stands for Connecting Housing to Infrastructure Program. Clallam County Opportunity Funds is also some funding we have received. That CHIP grant is through Washington State Commerce, and we applied in partnership with City of Squim for our Squim Avenue project. The Clallam County Opportunity Funds that we were awarded last year, but we have not received those funds or taken possession. Development, as I have learned, is slow, and before we receive the funding from Clallam County, we want to be sure we have a complete and comprehensive plan to move forward with phase one, which is infrastructure and development. No single source sustains us. It is definitely a community effort. So these are those two big projects that are coming up. Housing crisis, rents increasing, affordable homes lacking. In one study, Washington State is ranked fourth as the least affordable state for housing, behind Hawaii, California, and Massachusetts, with the median house price at close to $600,000. Expansion from single family homes to larger communities was the next step for Habitat Clallam. We've built 42 homes since 1991, and we're about to embark on two big developments of 45 homes each. Lions Landing is in Carlsberg and will be a 45 single family detached home community, with 25% of those homes serving families up to 120% of AMI, which is the area median income, making Habitat Clallam virtually the only developer serving workforce housing, also referred to as the missing middle. They don't make enough to qualify for a McMansion, but they make too much to qualify for subsidies. Squim Avenue is also a 45 home community where density was the priority, with fourplexes, triplexes, and duplexes, a community serving multi generational families less than 1 mile from downtown Squim. This community will serve families at 80% or below of the area median income and remain permanently affordable through deed restrictions requiring resale of the homes to families that are 80% or below of AMI. Navigating challenges such as wetland classifications, regulatory requirements, and of course funding, these big developments is Habitat's way to impact affordable housing here in Clallam County. Scaling up isn't easy, but it is definitely essential. So
So
we have,
going back to that, Colleen, a little
yeah,
bit, if you'll go back to that slide, will you
yeah,
explain to everybody that, the difference between the process for the infrastructure? I mean, you're not getting grants and you're not paying for building every house. Will you explain that difference
sure.
there?
So we have done cross projections thanks to my friend who is also on here, Dale Jarvis. I call him our nonprofit CPA guru who supports us as a volunteer. Thank you, Dale. So each of these projects, as of about a year ago, is about a $25 million project. And that is just not funding that Habitat has on hand. We need to raise the funding for the development of the infrastructure, all the non-fund stuff, all the horizontal work, the stuff that goes in the ground. However, once we start building the homes, we now use third-party lending. The original foundation of Habitat was a zero interest 30-year loan. So we would fundraise for every house and then we would self-fund that mortgage and we would wait 30 years to get paid back. In this environment, maybe in 1976, that worked when you could build a house for $25,000, $30,000. Not sustainable anymore. So we have gone to third party lending. The biggest game changer for us was 502, um, which is for affordable rural housing. And that would give us the money at the closing, and we roll that into the next house. So our goal and our anticipation is both at Squim Avenue and Lions Landing. The projects are about 6 to 9 months apart. So we are closer to moving dirt on Squim Avenue once we get a build site permit from the city of Squim. Lions Landing, we have pushed off because we just don't have the bandwidth or capability to run two huge projects like this simultaneously. So we want to get Squim Avenue underway because we are tied to that CHIP grant, which has a funding timeline to it. And Lions Landing, we have a little bit more flexibility. We need to put that also out for bid. The difference on, I asked for an estimate for Lions Landing of what it would be for the infrastructure and development in comparison to with prevailing wage and without prevailing wage. And it was about a $400,000 increase because we do have to pay prevailing wage. When we get to building the houses, because we pay our staff and we meet prevailing wage, and we build with volunteers, we are able to work around that prevailing wage for actually building the houses. So while we have to meet all the code commitments, if we're not using federal or state money to actually build the buildings, we get around that prevailing wage cost. Did that answer some of your questions?
It does. Thank you. I know that at the port, it wasn't just prevailing wages that increased the cost to build. It's also, well, one, you have to do the RFP, but then also you have to hire somebody on site to ensure that the person doing the work is doing that occupation title for X many hours. So it's a whole nother person you have to hire essentially. That yes, they're being a power equipment operator of a backhoe from 8 a.m. till 11 a.m. But then from 11 to 11:45, they were a power equipment operator of a, you know, loader. And so then that's a different rate. And so anyway, that I know is something that's been very costly for the Port of Port Angeles.
And it was interesting because we had a bidders conference for Squim Avenue, and six contractors showed up for the bidders conference, and ultimately only one turned in a bid. So I think some of that has to do with timing. I think some of it has to do with cost. But yeah, after all of that, and that is a big chunk of what they're required is the reporting of that prevailing wage then back to the government to make sure that we are in compliance. And not every contractor has the back office to be able, every local contractor here has the back office to be able to deal with that.
Yeah. The
We,
affidavits and intents, I think they're called. Yeah.
yeah. We have also partnered with Vanner Construction. We don't know what we don't know, becoming developers. And so we brought in Vanner, have been working with John Turk, who has been wonderful to get us through that Squim Avenue permitting process. Once we had the conditional use permit, we had our plans, then you put in for a build site permit, and it is a very long and laborious process. And so, as I said, we hired Vanner as a contractor to come in and help us with that work.
I saw Norm Peterson had his hand raised for a bit. Norm, do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I on the tracking of the wages and who's doing what work, I don't think the general public understands how much infrastructure and how much cost it drives into the projects. And so it would be something if we could get that out. And then you see at the state level, right, as costs go up, part of that is the administrative cost of getting the project run at prevailing wage.
Yeah, and I have tried for 15 years to try to have our legislators change some of those requirements. One, prevailing wages, for quite a while. It's not anymore, but for quite a while, Clallam County prevailing wages were higher than King County's for residential construction,
Yep,
which
they're
is
still up there.
that I did see that they came down though, and to some occupations were much more reasonable lately, and a lot of that just has to do with the process that Department of Labor follows, where they do for residential occupations, they actually do a survey. But if the only entity that responds to the survey is a union, is a contractor that is a signatory to carpenters unions and painters, et cetera, then they pay union wages. So our wages locally are union wages. And they also only accept responses from hours that occurred during a certain time frame and only within the city limits of the largest city of the county.
Yeah.
So that for us is Port Angeles, and you have to testify that yes, all these hours occurred within the city limits of Port Angeles, and that's just a really hard bar. The last time they did it, though, we did get responses from contractors, so those rates went down, and in several occupations aren't higher than King County's. Of course, King County is the largest city there, is Seattle, and so they had 42 responses, and so theirs were much lower and weren't all union contractors. And they don't do it by just, I got a response from one contractor. It's how many hours did were provided. And so previously, the only entity that responded was Neely Construction that was doing the work for Gale's, oh, I'm going to forget the name, but Peninsula Housing Authority's construction project over in Gale's Addition area.
Yeah, and you're just highlighting the aspect of the complexity, and for every level of complexity like that, be it at the contractor level or at the state level, it just adds cost to the project just to
Yep.
manage the overhead of the requirement. I think there's some
And a
better
lot of
ways.
time.
Yeah, time is money.
Yep.
The other thing we're being impacted by pretty heavily, especially on the infrastructure side, is the tariffs. So, for instance, the price of rebar is more than double. You know, anything that you're doing with metal pipe, those prices have really gone up. So, really affecting us there. Thanks for letting me in.
Yeah. Thanks, Norm.
Thanks,
And
Norm.
I
Appreciate
saw
it.
Tim's hand up too.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons we went down is because we didn't have a project in 24, 25, but it's going to go back up with Northview Apartments are going to raise it from a residential perspective. But you're still dealing with the infrastructure, and Brook and Brook and those guys are all used to paying, and there's a big difference between a union wage and prevailing wage, and that's where we really run into problems with the prevailing wage. Is that
So, what do you mean by there's a big difference between union wage and prevailing
because, like,
wage?
say, a plumber, my son's a union plumber, and he makes $56 an hour, but a prevailing wage job pays him 92. So when you start putting prevailing wage on there, that's when it goes up exponentially between what the union wage is and what a prevailing wage is for the job.
But so uh, outside of resident, so for residential, it's based on surveys. That's how they
Right.
set the prevailing wage for our county. But for commercial projects, it's based on the highest collective bargaining agreement established between Associated General Contractors located in Seattle and the union that they're negotiating with. And those unions are typically not located in Clallam County. They're
No,
in
no.
King County, but they've expanded their collective bargaining agreement geography to include Clallam County. And
Oh,
AGC doesn't care if they expanded that geography because they don't have any members, contracting members in Clallam County. So it was no problem for them to do that. It just harms our community with our projects that we're trying to complete.
yeah, because even our union guys, IBEW is out of King County.
Yeah,
Local 32, the plumbers, steam fitters, those guys are all out of Renton. They're not out here. But then
yeah.
when they come out here to do work, they're also kicking in per diem wages on top of what they're doing. That's
Mhm.
where they're kicking it up too. Is what's it going to cost to bring your workers out here? Because then they're not going to employ our workers for that.
hmm And then if they're the only ones that respond to the survey the Department of Labor puts out, then those wages become our prevailing wages for the following year.
Yep. Yep.
Thanks, both of you. Appreciate all
Sorry.
that insight.
We've talked to our legislators about this many
Yeah,
times, and they
so have
say,
we.
we know you're right,
Yeah,
but there's
nothing we
just,
can do. Yeah,
yep, yep, we're three of 148, and
yeah,
we don't have the votes, and they're just too powerful.
yep. So, our Native American housing liaison is bridging housing gaps with the tribes. This position is funded by a federal HUD grant. Equity is about ensuring opportunity, not exclusion. Currently, less than 2% of Habitat family partners across the U.S. are Native American. This particular Native American housing liaison is a 3-year opportunity to engage, learn, and impact Native American communities across the US. So the intention is what we learn here, we sort of make a roadmap. And while every state and every tribe is a little bit different, certainly after 3 years, we should be able to share some best practices and what we learned from our work here. And Sylvan is doing a great job. He was a big part of the Elwha paddle. We're working on a repair camp coming up next spring. So we have lots of great things happening. So, addressing misconceptions. Does Habitat give the houses away for free? No, we do not give the houses away. They pay an affordable mortgage. So they have to have an ability to pay an affordable mortgage. They need currently to be living in substandard housing. So that could mean they're cost burdened, paying more than 30% of their income. It could mean two families doubling up in one dwelling, or certainly substandard housing, mold, some sort of infestation that makes it not safe for the family. And then, of course, that willingness to partner. Homes are not given away. We have a transparent homeowner selection process and fair contractor selection. Our partner families receive an affordable low interest mortgage and do not pay more than 30% of their income for PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The funds from each home will go into the revolving fund for humanity to build the next homes. So eligibility, typically we are serving families that are 80% or below of the AMI. We have a blind review process for fairness and equity. And as an example, the last home that we did in Port Angeles in 2023, we had 25 applications for a modest 1,000 square foot, 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom home. The majority of those families were living in travel trailers on family and friends' property. And as we all know, RVs were not intended to be permanent family housing. The sweat equity, willing to partner, is important to us. Habitat family partners are some of the most prepared homeowners. They are required to take the following classes. They have to take a financial class, first time homebuyer class, homeowner maintenance class, HOA, and how to be a good neighbor. Typically, our family partners have been renters for generation. Habitat wants to set them up for success, and that foundation starts with education. So all of those classes go as part of their sweat equity. Transformative power, stability, generational wealth, health, community strength, proven educational health outcomes for families. Melissa shared my life improved drastically, and Steve shared having a place to call home means the world. So, how can you help? Certainly, donating, volunteering, contributing your time and your skills, advocate for to support affordable housing policies at the local, state, and federal level, and shop and donate at the Habitat stores. So we have two Habitat stores. Port Angeles has been open since 2008 and a must go to for everything from appliances, building materials, furniture, and so much more. The Squim Habitat Boutique store opened in 2018 with the help of a grant from the Port of Port Angeles at our first location. And because it was so successful, we moved in 2020 to a bigger location. The boutique store is known for furniture, finery, and fun, and live music at First Friday Art Walk. We have a live band here. So, this is a little bit about our store impact. I love that we kept 586 tons out of the landfill last year. And when you look at that under volunteers, the equivalent of that many hours in wages, that is a great help to us. And we have some dedicated volunteers who have been there with us just about since 2008, and they still keep coming back to support us. Advocacy for affordable home ownership is essential for Habitat to continue our work. Habitat for Humanity works to increase affordability by influencing policies and systems focused on supply and preservation, access to credit, zoning, and land use. With the support from Habitat for Humanity International, we work on advocacy issues at the local, state, and federal levels. Habitat International hosts a conference every February in Washington, D.C. called Habitat on the Hill, where we meet with our elected officials and discuss how their work in DC is impacting Habitat's work in their local districts. Ways to volunteering. Volunteering isn't just about swinging a hammer, although there are opportunities to do that. There are many ways to serve Habitat for Humanity, volunteering in either store location, serving on a committee, advocating for affordable housing policies, or a special event. And speaking of special events, our annual wine festival is coming up in July. We also have table sponsorship opportunities for any businesses out there that may want to support us through this wonderful event. I think so far we have about a dozen wineries and cideries coming, two different live music bands, food all day. It's a super good time and would highly encourage you all to get a ticket. They're going fast. And does
Great.
anybody have any questions? And I'll stop sharing the screen.
Well, we've got one in the chat, Colleen, from
Sure,
Paul Gottlieb. He says,
sure.
can you discuss the possibility of building multifamily homes here? And what are the demographics of the families you serve, such as age, occupation, etc.? I guess if it was a multifamily, you'd have to do a condo so that you could sell each one. But then,
Right.
yeah, how do you get, right now you're talking about doing one and getting that money back and then putting it in the next one. I guess maybe that's a barrier for you.
Yeah. Certainly scaling up is going to be huge, and fundraising is always a part of our core work here locally, which has become more and more strenuous as time goes on, raising funds in this particular environment. Um, so exactly possibility of building. So we are doing multifamily in the Squim Avenue project for density. We're doing the duplexes, quads, and triplexes. There are apartment buildings going up in Seattle, built by Habitat that will become condos that they're selling. We have not scaled into that work. There is insurance requirements and liability requirements in doing that kind of building, which I'm sure Wendy Sisk would be happy to speak to with her Northview project. But we are trying to work on density. The reason that we do not have multifamily in Carlsberg is we bought that property from a developer and it was already down the path of the single family detached. To go back and start over would not have been cost effective. So I think moving forward, the trend is going to be more density and more multifamily. Norm, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, one thing about Lions Landing that we are looking at is we have some layouts that will accommodate multi-generational living. So, if as we talk about workforce housing and how the workforce living situations have changed, we're ending up grandparents, parents, and kids living in one house now. So that'll I think that'll be significant as well.
Okay.
And it
Any
looks
other
like Mitch has his
questions?
hand raised too. Thanks, Norm.
Hey, Colleen. I was curious if the two bigger developments, will those be HOAs to help maintain roads and green areas and all that?
100%. All
Gotcha.
required. Yep. HOA, CC&Rs, all of that adds another layer of complexity and expense
Right.
to the development because you have to have all that ready before you can go for permitting.
Got
So,
it.
yes, they are required, but they will keep the communities beautiful and lovely and hopefully working harmoniously because we all know how wonderful HOAs are.
Yes.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Anyone else have any questions for Colleen? Tim,
Yes. Colleen, hey, I had a question concerning Ketchum Village up here, the Ketchum Cottage, and that did you have problem with zero lot line simple fee on those? I know USDA with PHA, their self-help build, they don't like anything connected. Did you have any issue up there?
Well, the issue was none of us knew what we didn't know because we were the first ones testing it. So I wouldn't say issues, I would just say it was a learning curve for both the city and for us of how to make all that work and make that happen because no one had done it before with the current staffing and current administration.
Well, and
But
I
we
was
got
more
through it.
looking at from a financial perspective on selling those.
hmm they own 25% of the lot. Each house owns 25%.
Okay, okay. And
So
you
they
had
do
somebody who
own.
was financing that.
Who is financing the homes?
Yeah,
You mean the mortgages?
yes.
So
Because that's
we
not
let our
USDA
part.
doing that, is
No, it is not USDA. USDA is not funded enough to be able to help us. So we work with a couple different entities. Homesite is one third-party lender, Banner Bank, and also our local First Fed has worked with us on a habitat lending product that will be used by other habitats where First Fed actually has a presence in their county or community. And so we are very grateful for that opportunity. But we give a list to our partner families and then they decide who they wanted to work with.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So there's really three costs when we're selling a house. It's what it cost us, hard costs um, in on the house, the property, the materials, whatever wasn't donated or gift in kind. There's what the family qualifies for, and then there's what the house appraises for. Anyone want to take a guess what those 836 square foot cottages appraised for?
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
400,000.
$320,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the way that Habitat works is it's what they qualify for. So they're not paying more than 30% of their income.
Right.
Then we try to lay in down payment assistance, of which we received some funding here locally. And because these are veterans, they've gotten some VA funding to kind of bring that down. And then we do a silent second to make up that difference between what they qualified for, what the DPA was, and what it appraises for. So when you have a cute little place like that appraising at 320,000, in a lot of ways, that's really what's hurting us. We're not an affordable home builder, we're an affordable home lender, is where the secret
Yeah.
comes into it.
Well, and the other thing,
So,
you're taking those out 38 years, aren't you? In a lot of the cases.
Some.
Yeah.
so that silent second lender, that is Habitat's paying that, correct?
Correct. It's just money that sits there as a liability. If they stay in the house for the life of the loan, it's forgiven. If they sell
Okay.
the house before the life of the loan, then we are second in line after those other creditors. Much of the down payment assistance that we're working on layering in is forgivable after 5 or 10 years. So they're not making any payments on that, but it's help closing that gap between what they qualify for and the appraisal amount to kind of close that gap. Because obviously $100,000 silent second on every house is not sustainable for Habitat either.
Yeah. Got it. All right. Well, thank you. Great information. And I mean, you're serving a need that I think it's a creative approach. We've got, of course, for-profit builders, and that is a challenge there. And then we've got the subsidized housing, Peninsula Housing Authority is our primary. But you're in this, as you pointed out in one of your first slides, this interesting area that no one else is serving. So thanks for jumping into that and serving that need and being creative.
Yeah, it's exciting learning how to be a developer.
Yep. All right. Well, do we have any other questions for Colleen? If not, I think we will call it a morning. Thank you very much. Really appreciate everyone's time and thank you for joining us. All
Thanks,
right.
everybody. Bye.
Talk to you later. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.